Manitoba RCMP have made an historic arrest stemming from a decade-long investigation into abuse at a residential school. A former priest is accused in a sexual assault of a student who was 10 years old at the time. We want to warn viewers right now, though, some of these details of this story can be disturbing and difficult to hear. Let's bring in the CBC's Chris Ensing with more on this. Chris, give us some more details of the investigation and what led to this arrest.
Yes, Hannah. What happened here is in 2010, they received complaints, abuse allegations, the RCMP did in Manitoba, about events that took place at Fort Alexander Residential School, which is at Saugeen First Nation, which is about an hour and a half east of Winnipeg. Now, the school ran from the early 1900s, and closed in 1970. These allegations that have turned into this criminal charge now are against Father Arthur Masse, who was 92 years old, arrested at home in Winnipeg yesterday for completing a sexual assault against a 10-year-old girl who went to that school between 1968 and 1970 when these incidents is alleged to take place, according to RCMP. Now, at the time, the father would have been in his late 30s. We do know that this charge comes after hundreds of interviews took place across North America, dozens of people giving witness and victim statements as well, going through thousands of historical documents to try and make that account possible. The RCMP is saying that this is the victim's day. This is her day, her chance to be heard and have those allegations put forward and that charge to be laid. The RCMP was asked, though, after a decade's worth of investigation that involved dozens and dozens of officers, is this the only victim? Is this the only charge that's coming through? Here's how that went during the press conference.
Do you believe there were other victims in regards to this priest?
We spoke with a potential amount of victims, and then, like I say, the investigation led us to the charge, where it's the victims wanting to come forward and speak with us, and that's what allowed us to lay this charge.
They do say that this is the only investigation that was happening, that it is now closed. They say they will reopen investigations if police are contacted by people who have stories that they would like to share. Hannah? And
Chris, there's news coming from another Manitoba First Nation, more anomalies discovered during the ground search at a former residential school site. Can you bring us the details on that?
Yes, this is also happening in Manitoba. This First Nation is about 4 hours north, but sort of to the west here in Manitoba of Winnipeg. This is at Minnegozibi Anishinaabe First Nation, or Pine Creek First Nation. They've found now 33 anomalies that they have marked out through ground-penetrating radar. The chief saying in a statement that he is aware that this can be re-traumatizing for people, that they are working with their community to properly mark these spaces, saying they're saddened by the news that additional anomalies have been detected in search areas around the church and an old residential school site. 5 of those anomalies are unmarked graves in the boundary of a section of the cemetery designed for the burial of children and infants, but the rest are spread out around the grounds. What they're going to do now, Hannah, is try and cross-reference what they found with a burial map that's been provided to them from the Catholic Church to see what they can document, what they can find out. They're also going to go back next week and mark those anomalies as places of interest, places of note, so that community members are aware of where they are as they continue this research. The chief saying that he's aware of horrific stories that took place, believing that this is one of those steps that needs to be taken forward for a full understanding of what happened at that residential school. Hannah?
Chris, thank you so much. The CBC's Chris Ensing in Windsor, Ontario. Support is available for anyone affected by residential schools. A National Indian Residential School Crisis Line can be reached 24 hours a day. Call the number on your screen, 1-866-925-4419.